Yes, hello. Welcome to the Magic Round review on the Rugby League Forecast podcast. My name is Connor Moran, and this week I am going to go through the 8 games over the weekend. The Sharks and the Bulldogs kicked off on Friday night. We had 8 games over the weekend, of course, kicked off 2 Friday night, 3 on Saturday and 3 on Sunday. The Sharks winning this game 38 points to 16 over the Canterbury Bulldogs. For me, I tipped the Bulldogs. Have a good day. No, but seriously, it was bad. It was like I just assumed I just thought, Matt Burton's 100th game for the club, Stephen Crichton's 150th first grade game. I expected that. I just expected better. I expected better from Canterbury. I thought they were going to have a chance to win this game. I didn't like what I saw from the Cronulla Sharks in the previous week. Against South Sydney, them losing that by quite a fair margin. I'm going to pull this jersey down here because there's like a little gap there that's annoying me. Don't fall off, jersey, stay there. There we go. I'm a bit OCD. Sorry about that. All right, here we go. So the Dogs, for me, firstly, I want to congratulate Cronulla. Personally, I don't think there has been enough chat about Cronulla over the weekend with how good their performance was and how good their bounce back was against I don't know what's going on outside. We've got some construction happening next door, so hopefully you can't hear that. What they did against South was not good, but their bounce back were fantastic against Canterbury. I thought Nico Hines and Braden Trindle were excellent, absolutely outstanding. Hines was just a different player. What I want to see from Cronulla, though, is as good as they were in this game, I want to see them be able to do this every single week, and especially I want them to do this against a good side in the finals. So it's all good sitting back and watching as a fan if you're a Cronulla fan, but you know that they have this in them. I think you want to see, okay, what you want to see now, characteristics in their side to suggest that, okay, we now can go to the next level. They can be beaten by a side one week, bully a side the other week, but when it counts, are you going to win like this? That's my question over them. But for me, at the end of the day, a lot of people expected the Bulldogs to come back and win this game, even though the Bulldogs were the outsiders in this game. It was the Cronulla Sharks that were the favourites of this game, and I can understand why now, because they absolutely tore the Bulldogs to shreds. Will Kennedy, there's talk about Will Kennedy. Cronulla haven't re-signed him for next year. For me, they have to on a one-year deal. I think he still has plenty to offer in the Cronulla jersey. I'm pretty sure he's been playing fullback now at Cronulla since around 2019, 2020. He's been around for a while, and I just think he's been he's not your elite fullback, but for me, he's proved a lot of people wrong, including myself, to suggest that he's earned another year at Cronulla at least. I think that he combines really well with Nico. He can play the style that Fitzgibbon wants Cronulla to play and attack really well, and he just suits that Cronulla jersey. There's something about Will Kennedy in that Cronulla jersey. It gives me David Peachey vibes, to be honest. I really, really enjoy watching him play, and I thought he did a fantastic job the other night. Yeah, congratulations to them. Yeah, shout out to Jaden Beryl as well. They did this without Blake Brayley. I thought Beryl, especially in defence, was really, really good, really strong. Congratulations to him. I saw him earlier in the preseason challenge back in February, and I thought he did a terrific job in that game as well. So he's about 28, 29 years of age, and he's been around for a while now in New South Wales Cup. I think he used to play with North Sydney Bears, I'm pretty sure as well. But he's a really good a good player to have in a squad. If a dummy half gets injured, he certainly could be a great 14. Could certainly play lock at a pinch as well with how good his defence is. So congratulations to the Sharks winning that game. I'll talk about Canterbury. I won't go on too much about the Bulldogs because at the end of the day, I'm sure you've all heard enough about Canterbury at the moment. But basically, I think they need to change things up really, really quickly. On the Friday night, I was watching this game closely and trying to identify what has gone wrong with Canterbury. And first of all, I'm not trying to criticise players or anything. It's more probably criticism towards the coaching staff for not making the changes. Their attack has become very, very predictable. There's no shying away from that. For me, Adam O'Brien, I do not know if his His attacking stuff is working respectfully at Canterbury. If you watch the Bulldogs closely in this game the other day, go and watch Canterbury play in this game and then go and watch a game that Newcastle played from round 17 onwards last year where they didn't win a game. It's very similar, robotic, structured, predictable. There's a lack of flow. And for me, when I watched this game really closely the other night, Jamin Salmon for me can no longer be. He's a good player. He's a good player, but he can no longer be the starting 13 in this in this team. He just can't do it. He's too slow off the mark. His ball playing is so predictable, and he's just there for ball service. A lot like Jimmy Graham at the back end of his career at Canterbury. He became one of the best front rowers, and then he became like another halfback that was so slow off the mark, and the attack became so predictable for the defense teams to read. For me, everything came off the back of Jamin Salmon. Everything was too slow. The service was slow. His ball passing was slow. His defense is good. For me, he's a really good 14, Jamin Salmon, at this stage of his career. A premiership winner, a good player. But for me, that you've got to go Kurt Mann at number 9 right now. If they get Sammy Verrills, who Phil Gould had a conversation with Verrills the other day. If Sammy Verrills gets over the line before the June 30 deadline, then he's a good choice for number 9, right? But I think they have now, they will never come out and say it publicly, but they have now no doubt regretted the decision to lose Reid Marnie and to let him go. For me, I spoke about it on the podcast earlier in the year when I did a dog season preview, and I could not understand why they got rid of him. Bailey Hayward, for me, needs to go at 13. Right, because at least it's a little bit quicker off the mark at that lock forward position. Defensively, probably in my opinion, a bit stronger, and probably, I just think Hayward for me is just sort of, he's a 13. I don't think he's a creative 9, and that's what Canterbury need at the moment with how shit their attack is. They need a creative 9 out of dummy half, and for me personally, I think Kurt Mann at 9, Bailey Hayward 13, and 14 Jamin Salmon. I mean, you need another hooker replacement for Kurt Mann. He's 35 years old, and he can't be expected to play 80 minutes at dummy half. But gee, I tell you what, he's a fit boy, Kurt Mann. He could do a job at 9 for at least 60 minutes. I give him. I rate him. He played a bit of 9 at Newcastle back about 6 or 7 years ago and did a good job there. I just think they've got to go Kurt Mann at 9 and Bailey Hayward at 13. They need to mix it up as soon as possible. Connor Tracy, for me, really struggled in this game, which was sad to see. Crichton was all right. Lachlan Galvin, that really was the icing on the cake, wasn't it? When he dropped the ball over the line, it was just like that. They have been quite stubborn. Cameron Ciraldo in his coaching has been very stubborn. I don't like what he's been saying in press conferences recently. Not over the weekend, but the weekend before and weekends before that. There was referee blaming. There was this, there was that. But now I think he's starting to realise that, you know what? We might be a bit fucked here. And I think he needs to make changes. Really intrigued to see the selections he makes for round 12 this week, I should say, for Canterbury, because things need, like, not like, wonder if things are going to happen, like, if they're going to save their season, which I don't think they can do anymore. I genuinely think they are fucked. I'm sorry. I just think they are. I think that they have shown a lack of resilience in defence, a lack of flexibility from the coaching staff to change players when this should have been done 4 or 5 weeks ago. I think they've lost 6 of their last 7. They needed to make change a month ago, and they didn't do it. They very rarely made any changes. Now, in fairness to the Bulldogs, Jacob Kiraz for me has been a huge loss. He hasn't played, I don't know if he's played a couple of games earlier in the year, but he's hardly played this year due to injury. For me, I think he's been a huge loss to this Bulldogs side, and that needs to, when he comes back into the side, boy, oh boy, just watch the Bulldogs start winning again, because his kick returns, his finishes, his athletic ability to catch the ball in the air from a crossfield kick and get it down, unbelievable. Matt Burton was quiet in this game. I don't know. Jacob Preston, he's a good player, but they need a lot more than that combination on that left edge between Galvin and Preston. They need to, they scored a try off the left edge the other day through that. It was a beautiful ball from Galvin, but apart from that, they really didn't offer much in attack. I understand Kickow has been injured now for a few weeks, but to be fair, he's been quiet this year as well. When he was playing, their attack was still bland and boring and predictable. So something needs to happen, something needs to change, and they need to start playing a Bulldogs brand of football, which is exciting, mentally tough. That look, the Dogs will be back in the next couple of years, but I think it's fair to say, they were, you know, I'll say it. They were one of the teams I predicted to make the grand final this year, and how wrong was I? And I think, to be fair, I think many predicted them to at least make the finals, and they're just one of those sides. I think they've been actually the most disappointing side of the competition, and I think their fans would agree as well. I think they're fed up now. That from 2017, 2018 to 2023, they didn't make a finals series anywhere in those seasons. They make two. It looks like they're building towards a premiership, and now all this happens. Well, there's a lack of belief in the playing squad at the moment. Now I think they are playing for their coach. Funnily enough, I think he's the right man to get them out of it. But there needs to be accountability and ownership from Cameron Ciraldo of perhaps I've got this wrong, perhaps I need to change something, rather than the stubbornness theme I'm sort of getting over the press conferences at the moment. So that needs to change. Canterbury, unfortunately, I just think, yeah. I mean, I hate to say it, but they were lucky to get the win in Golden Point in Vegas as well. If we remember that penalty that got given to Bronson Sherry as well. Personally, I didn't agree with that. I think that that got them to the other end of the field, and with about 2 seconds to go on the clock before it was going to be a draw, Stephen Crichton nails the field goal, and so they could have easily had a draw with the Dragons as well. And when you look back at that game, it goes to show that how much they should have won that game, like how big they should have won that game. They were expected to smash the Dragons in that game, and they didn't, and they almost lost to them. And now the Dragons still haven't won a game since. So it goes to show how much those two sides are struggling at the moment. Personally, I'd like to see the Bulldogs do better than what's happening at the moment. I think they've got a team. I respect their fans. I respect the passion from the fans. I think they have a team full of talent. And I think I want to see teams like the Bulldogs and the Tigers and teams that haven't really made the finals much at all over the last decade become a consistent finals side, because for me, in my opinion, I believe that is the most important and best thing about the salary cap, right, is we've got to spread the talent around and every team gets a go every decade, sort of thing. The next game was the Dolphins over the South Sydney Rabbitohs. I won't spend too long in this game because for me, I thought the Dolphins came out. They were absolutely outstanding. Look, for me, Selwyn Cobbo, just his intent when he ran, his enthusiasm when he ran in this game, he was playing for an Origin jersey. For me, the way he ran in this game was so much harder than any of the games. Just have a look closely in this game. His kick returns, the way he will score towards a try line. Sometimes he knows he's going to score anyway, so he sprints and then goes, oh, I've got it. Jogs with a smile on his face and gets it over the line. He was sprinting. He was damaging. He was aggressive. He was determined, and he got that Origin jersey. So congratulations to Selwyn Cobbo. The hammer, absolutely outstanding. That try scored in the second half. It's just so beautiful to watch. Speed is just such an underrated and beautiful thing to watch. Isaiah Katoa, Cody Nikorima, absolutely outstanding. Max Plath starting in the number 9 jersey. Jeremy Marshall-King off the bench, outstanding. Tick, tick, tick. If I'm a high school teacher, marking the Dolphins at the moment, I'd give them a B plus. Like, seriously, like they almost lost to They almost won against Penrith in Darwin a month ago. They lost that in Golden Point. They almost won the game before, and ever since they've been winning games. The last poor game they had was against Manly back in round 5. Ever since that game, they took plenty out of it, out of their discipline, their potential. They realised how much talent they had in the side. They had to do something and fix it quickly. For me, Christian Wolf is a very good coach that does not get enough credit or appreciation. Last year, they lost their first 4 games in a row, and I remember them losing their fourth game. I think it was at Redcliffe or KO Stadium. And he was walking down the stairs. And I remember thinking, shit, this is his first 4 games of NRL coaching. I think he may have been an interim at Newcastle many, many years ago for a few games. But apart from that, he's been in Super League, obviously, lots of success there. But, what we noticed in that game the other day was absolutely outstanding in terms of coaching. It was outstanding. The way in which he has given this self-belief to this team. He's made them realise, shit, we can win the comp. We can win the comp. And they almost made the finals last year. They became, from losing 4 in a row last year to being the favourites to win the Wooden Spoon, to then also from then on being the best attacking side in the competition and scoring more points than any other team had in many, many decades in a season, goes to show the great coaching of Christian Wolf and the belief that he can bring into a side. And he certainly did that in this game. I thought Flegler was good. Gilbert, he's great, isn't he? I love him. Look, for me personally, I just thought the Dolphins were outstanding. South Sydney, very disappointing. Normally if they've won this year, they've won, whether it's 30 points scored against them or, it's a high scoring game whenever they win. But the most disappointing thing about Souths in this game, we know what they can bring to their attack. But it was the lack of connection in attack, the way that they can normally rely on their attack and believe in their attack. It was clunky. It's almost like they overthought their attack in this game, to be completely honest with you. And in my opinion, the most disappointing thing about South Sydney, and I've got no doubt that Wayne Bennett would feel this way, was their defence. Now, Wayne Bennett knows that the best defensive sides always win the competition and usually always win the competition. And I think that the South Sydney Rabbitohs expected that if they were going to lose this game, that they were going to hopefully have a low scoring game. Bennett doesn't want Souths to just be a consistent side. He wants to win a comp again. He hasn't won a comp since 2010 at the Dragons. It's 16 years on, and here we are. He's only been to one grand final since 2010, which was 2015. Incorrect. I am wrong. It was 2021 as well for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, but he hasn't won a comp in 16 years. So he's desperate to do it for South Sydney, and I've got no doubt that even though he's got a cheeky side to him and he makes the players happy, he is a father figure to many of these NRL players. I've got no doubt that he would have been fuming after this game, and the expectation from him, knowing that they can live to their potential, would be through the roof. He would be a lot more hard on them this year round than what he would have been last year, when there was acceptance that their season was fucked pretty well halfway through the season, based on the worst injury toll he has ever seen through his coaching career since the early 1970s. So for me, when he used to coach in the Queensland competition before he went to Canberra with Donny Ferner, I think it was, as an assistant coach there back in 1987. For me, South Sydney, disappointing, defensively disappointing. Latrell coming off did not help at all. That was disappointing. Really was the icing on the cake really for Souths that night, unfortunately. I love South Sydney. I want them to do well, and I believe that they'll come back. And I believe I had them in the finals, I think, at the start of the year, and I think they're a team that can definitely win the comp. The funny thing is, the way the game is played now, before this game kicked off, I thought, imagine if it's a Dolphins South Sydney grand final. Could you see that happening? Yep, I reckon I could. If Penrith somehow do not make it, these two sides could 100% be in the grand final. 100%. Wouldn't that be, the storylines around that would be absolutely outstanding. Look, Souths will be back. It was disappointing. They still have players missing. I think I will say Ashton Ward for me has been really impressive over the last few weeks since he's started, and I think he's the number 7 for them moving forward. Jonah Glover was expected to be their starting number 7 at the start of the year, and then he broke his jaw on the Charity Shield, and I don't think he's able to return yet. So for me, Ashton Ward, I think they've got to stick with him at the moment. It's his attitude in defence and his ability to never give up when things are going against his side, which stands out to me when I watch the young 19-year-old halfback Ashton Ward. For me, he's a really, really good kid, and I think South Sydney are very lucky to have a player like that who would do anything for the club. Really, really good kid, and not your superstar halfback, but a halfback that can direct the side around, and just that little man that can get a lot done. Little Jeffy Tuvey or Alan Langer, a Sammy Walker, just those little men that can bounce around and get the job done by directing a side with a little bit of unpredictability in their attack as well. The next game, the Melbourne Storm beat the Parramatta Eels. Hang on, no, I've got this wrong. It was Manly. First game, Super Saturday, 46 points to 18 over the West Tigers. Tolatau Kola, thank you for coming. Outstanding game. Haumole Olakau'atu, incredible. Luke Brooks, his form, I don't think I've seen Luke Brooks play this well since 2018. So back in 2018, 8 years ago, he was the best halfback of the competition, won Dally M Halfback of the Year. He was outstanding for the Tigers. They finished ninth that season again, unfortunately for them. But he was outstanding. He was showing his potential. Since Kieran Foran took over Manly, he has become the Luke Brooks of 2018. He has become the Luke Brooks that a lot of people expected him to be, which was a consistent first grader. Consistency is what Kieran Foran has brought into his side, and an ability for Luke Brooks to back himself when you least expect it is what Kieran Foran has brought to Luke Brooks's game. Defensively strong, his kicking game was great, but his ability to create space for his outside men was outstanding. He was fantastic in this game. Congratulations to the Manly Sea Eagles. I thought Jake Simpkin, off the bench was great. Clayton Faulolo, his ball work at fullback, outstanding. Manly are not short of options at fullback too. And the thing I love about Manly too is I sat here for the first 3 weeks doing podcasts about Manly for the season reviews, and I got quite not emotional in terms of crying, but I got emotional in terms of passion and talking about how Manly have lost their DNA and how they're not playing for each other anymore. They're not playing for their coach. They're not playing like they're having fun. They're not playing with that Manly DNA of having mental toughness in their game. Now that Manly DNA is back, and all it took is for Kieran Foran to come into the side to do this. The players are playing for him. They have a smile on their face as well when they're playing. They're having fun and they're enjoying their football. And it's obviously a happy camp to be around at the moment. I'm really proud of this club and how quickly they've been able to turn things around. And when Manly have their backs up against the wall, and when everyone thinks they're going to get the spoon or struggle or whatnot, like they just somehow prove everyone wrong and somehow get to the finals, and they just do it based on saying fuck you to everyone that doubted them, and they get there. And I respect that. I genuinely respected that. And this is coming from a Manly fan that I did assume that Seabold wouldn't last the season, because I thought Manly would finish around 14th, 15th this season if Seabold was to stay. Now, if somebody told me that Kieran Foran came in after 3 or 4 weeks to replace Anthony Seabold as the interim coach, I wouldn't have had Manly in the bottom 4. But what if I had Manly in the top 8? Don't know. Certainly wouldn't have had them where they are now. I certainly would never have predicted for them to win 6 from 7 games, and the game they lost, they only just lost to Penrith by 2 points, who is the team that will most likely win the premiership. I'm very proud of what they've been able to do. And when I watch Manly now, I feel like that 16-year-old kid sitting at the hill at Brookie Oval, remembering what I knew I was going to get out from the side. Whether they lost on the day, you were going to walk away being really proud because of the DNA and that mental toughness that they would show, and their resilience in defence and their trust in their defence and their way of proving everyone wrong is something that I've always been really, really proud of as a supporter. I expected Seabold to get sacked through the year. I genuinely thought it would have been at least halfway through the year. I did not predict this of happening, and I'm so proud of Manly. The Tigers, I'm not going to focus too much on the Tigers because they're one side I'm desperate to see them play in the finals. And look, they've been shit the last few weeks, and they've been really poor. Like for me personally, I know they've had injuries, suspensions. Coruscant's been out for 3 weeks. Dewey being injured doesn't help. Fainu now out. Um, uh, Samuel Fainu. I mean, they're losing a lot of talent. Buller's been out. But you probably just expect better than this from the Tigers. One thing I've watched in the Tigers over the weekend is the fundamental errors that it doesn't matter who's missing. It doesn't matter who's missing in your squad or who's not there, but it's the basic errors and the lack of trust and resilience in defence, a lack of mental toughness in their game at the moment. And look, I get it, quality is missing, but if I'm coaching the Tigers, and this, what's the word? The expectation must be here based on how bad they've been now. They haven't made the finals since Daly Cherry Evans played his first game of NRL. 2011. He's played his first season. 2011 was the last time the Tigers made the finals. It's 2026. And now they've been in the top four for the majority of the year. And the last few weeks, they've dropped down to 10th. So the expectation at the Tigers needs to be here, because the fans have had a gutful, and I want to see them do well. As a fan that loves the game, loves Manly, obviously, but I want to see the Tigers do really, really well this year. I know they've had quality players missing over the last few weeks, but that game over the weekend, they needed to do better than that. There was fundamental errors. They weren't focused. They weren't concentrated. And one thing I will say is I genuinely believe that the fans deserved a better outcome than that. I don't think a lot of fans probably thought Manly were going to win this game, yeah? I think that's fair to say. But I think the fans expected more from the Tigers in this game. I think that's a fair comment to say, to be honest. Based on how forward Benji has been with them and how open he has been to the media with expectation and raising the bar, raising the ceiling here, raising the, everything we need to do needs to be up here. Raising the culture so that they bring consistency to their side, and so they can get there and get the job done and make finals and become a consistent football side. For me, Jerome Luai, really, really disappointing in this game. One thing I will touch on the Tigers is I had concerns about them a few weeks ago when Luai signed with PNG. I thought to myself, I think time will tell now how this will affect the Tigers in the long run, because they've lost 3 games since. They've lost every game since that it's happened, and I understand they've had quality players out, but Luai's really been nowhere to be seen. He's been very disappointing. Leadership-wise, I think he's trying hard, but he's a 4-time premiership winner, a State of Origin series winning 5-8. He took Samoa to a grand final back in the 2022 World Cup. He is a freak of a player. And he's experienced. I think he debuted back in 2018, played off the bench a lot that year. Maloney was number 6 alongside Cleary at 7 that year. And then he started to play more consistent football in 2019. And then obviously got the first crack at the 6 jersey in 2020, and he's been a terrific 5'8" ever since. But you just expect him to be better. I thought Jock Madden was poor. The May injury, I'm concerned about that. I just think the Tigers now, for years and years and years, I've heard the supporters say we have lots of good kids coming through. Well, I heard this 5 or 6 years ago. And this is what I mean with the Tigers, is the supporters are 100% correct. They do have a lot of good kids coming through the ranks at the Tigers. But now it's been like, now is the time now for the kids to come in, and now this is like, this is what the Tigers fans have been waiting for, is like, okay, when players get injured, we've now had kids sitting there for a few years and good kids in the system that we can now blood. We're now blooding people in the team that they're still not getting the results that the club's hopeful for. So they need to just simplify their game, go back to the basics, complete the sets, make the tackles, score the tries. I know it sounds simple, but sometimes simple stuff you need to do. I remember Cameron Smith speaking many years ago, back in 2012, in a documentary. He spoke about how, I forgot what the documentary was called though, but I did hear him he spoke about how they lost 5 games in a row in 2012, and when they simplified their football, I think Craig Bellamy got a comedian in to just loosen up the vibe in camp and just for everyone to relax and not overly think about football, just to have a good time. It helped relax them, and then they after 5 games they didn't lose a game for the rest of the year, beat the Bulldogs in that grand final 12 points to 4. So the Tigers might need to look at that and go, okay, well, look, we've got quality missing, but at the end of the day, we have what it takes to do something really special, which is to galvanise, prove people wrong, do a bit what Manly's done. And, people might say, oh, fuck, here we go again. Here come the Tigers. Well, no, prove everyone wrong, get it done, get into the finals. You deserve it to yourselves. You deserve it to each other. You deserve it to the fans. Benji deserves it. He's done a lot of hard work there since he's been the assistant coach of the club under Tim Sheens back in 2023 and then full-time coach at the back end of 2024. Actually, it was 22 he came in, wasn't it? 23? I can't remember. Anyway, Tigers, they need to be doing better than this. They get the bye next week, so they'll have a lot of time to reflect and understand of how they need to improve for their coach. That they have a lot of work to do because it's the basic errors of the Tigers that really concerned me. Special shout out to Jason Saab as well. He hasn't scored overly many tries in his last 14, 15 games, but he certainly scored a nice few over the weekend and a lot of effort in his tries as well. A lot of solo individual brilliance as well from Jason Saab. So, look, I've been a bit of a critic of Saab's over the years. I think he's a terrific runner, but he's just not my sort of favourite winger, I guess. I don't know. I think he just needs to work on those crossfield kicks, catch it up and score. A lot of the time, like Daniel Tupou has that consistency in his game where someone can kick towards the sideline. Daniel Tupou can pick it up, score a try. He's got that athletic consistency in his game and that ability in his game. Unfortunately, Saab doesn't have that in his game right now. In my opinion, he's been in the NRL long enough to now have that in his game. He still doesn't. But I genuinely was really, really happy for Jason Saab to see how well he played the other day. It was fantastic. So congratulations to him. And that's going to bring him and the side a lot of confidence knowing that he can do those kind of things. And he needs to do it a lot more consistently. So congratulations to the Manly Sea Eagles winning that. The second game, Super Saturday, Cowboys, Roosters. Cody Ramsey, what a story that is. Fantastic to see from Cody Ramsey. His first try, and I think it was around 688 days. Actually, no, it was more than that. I thought that was the number I heard the other day. 2022, 2023. Oh, it would have been way more days than that. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else, but I know Cody Ramsey scored his first try. I think it's in September 2022, so that's definitely not 688 days. But there's someone else scored for the first time recently. I can't remember who it was. First time in a long time, but anyway, Cody Ramsey. What a story! I mean, I remember a couple of years ago him being on. I think it was 2GB or one of the radio stations. He was talking about how his life was at risk. He could have died with the sickness he had to go through, and to see his resilience and toughness to come back into the side, to come back into the NRL, be given an opportunity. It wasn't just the try he scored in this game too. It was that line break, that kick return line break he made. He made about 40 or 50 metres. Gee, he's fast. He's got some pace, Cody Ramsey. And I thought, in my opinion, I thought the Roosters were going to win this 30 plus. I just thought there wasn't a world where the Cowboys were going to beat the Sydney Roosters in this game. Fucking oath, wasn't I wrong? I just thought they just looked flat, the Roosters. When Matt Lodge got sin binned, I thought, okay, they're going to win this game now. They're one of those sides that over the last few weeks can just, Cronulla back in Perth in round 6, they had about 18 points scored against them, 18-0. They come back, they can score tries really quickly with momentum, come back and score. They were unable to do that over the weekend. Excuse me. I thought the Cowboys' defense was absolutely outstanding. There was a try-saving tackle. I think it was on Victor Radley or was it Tedesco? It was Cohen Hess who made the tackle. And Cohen Hess he's in the form that we saw when he played for Queensland many, many years ago. That try-saving tackle just simplified everything for the rest of the game for the Cowboys. I think that play just reminded them that, okay, all we got to do is just hold them out and just have that trust and resilience in defense. And that's exactly what they did. Congratulations to the Cowboys. For me, it was actually one of their best performances I've seen for at least a few years from them. I think it was outstanding to see, and I'm really, really proud of them because at the start of the year, I said my Smoky to make the top eight. I said I think the Cowboys will make the eight, and based on the fact that I just looked at their roster on paper and I thought, you know, there's too much talent, there's too much representative talent in this side for this team to be a bottom four side. The way in which the game is played now, how it's sped up, I just thought the likes of Scott Drinkwater, Reuben Cotter, Jake Clifford, and Tom Dearden, Reed Marnie being a huge inclusion into the side as well. His creativity out of dummy half is second to none. It is absolutely unbelievable. Also, his kicking game. Jake Clifford's kicking game in this game was outstanding. That bomb he put up, and it bounced about 3 times, and it was Pongo, I think. Junior Polgo, was it, for the Roosters? He got up and leapt up, got the ball, couldn't go anywhere. It was just an amazing kick. He's one of the best high and long kickers, Jake Clifford, in the game. His kicking game does not get spoken about enough, in my opinion. Congratulations to the Cowboys. For the Roosters, really disappointing. I was worried about James Tedesco actually making New South Wales after this game. I thought he probably didn't have one of his best games. He wasn't terrible. Sammy Walker, I thought defensively really strong. I thought Sam Walker did pretty well in this game, to be fair. At the end of the day, they just didn't connect in attack. They looked clunky. Their defense, look, you can't say it was terrible. They only let in 18 points, where with the amount of teams that score points in this game at the moment, called rugby league, most teams are winning with a scoreline of around 30, 42, 28, 46, 32, 38. Like, you know, to let in 18 points, I guess, is a win. But at the end of the day, they had enough talent in that roster to smash the Cowboys without their best player, their captain, their leader, Tommy Dearden. They should have won this and won this well. So that was the disappointing thing for them. I think they'll be back. If I'm a Roosters fan, I'm not worried too much at all. I think they've got a big season ahead, and I think they're certainly a team that can win the competition. So I don't think they're going to be too worried about it. I think they'll just say, you know what, we'll just sort of put that one in the bin and move on from it, take our lessons out of it, which hopefully will benefit them the longer the season goes. So congratulations to the Cowboys. Third game, Super Saturday, the Storm and Parramatta. I won't jump on Parramatta too much here, because at the end of the day, the Eels are doing what they can do, if that makes sense. You know, I spoke about how I believed their club deserves the salary cap compensation. They had Jermaine Hopgood injured through a hip drop tackle. Matt Dury, who was in fine form for them in the opening rounds of the competition, was then taken illegally. I think it was a hip drop tackle on him as well. So you've got 2 really good players in your side out for the season due to foul play. And then, of course, Bailey Simonson on Easter Monday leapt up for that kick and then fractured his ankle. His foot was just completely gone and shattered. He's out for the year. I think he tore his Achilles from memory. I can't remember. But it was something to do with his foot, and it was bad. It was like a really bad... he was in a bad way on Easter Monday. For me personally, I think the Parramatta Eels, they would have expected to do better in this game, but I think now there's a sense from Jason Riles after listening to his press conference the other day. There is now a sense of, okay, we're done here. I think we just don't have the players at the moment. We don't have the fitness in the side. We don't have the... Their fullback has been out. Jonah Pezzett has been out for a lot of the year. Jermaine Hopgood's been out for a lot of the year. Talon Silva played 80 minutes in this game, I believe. They're missing Riley Smith. Look, I know I jumped on the Tigers there. If you're missing star players and you're making the fundamental errors, that's what Parramatta did in this game. But at least Parramatta showed against the Cowboys last week that if they can complete their sets and play the long game, they can come back and win a game. The Tigers, we haven't seen that from them for a few weeks now. Parramatta, for me, Disappointing. You know, they tried. Mitchell Moses is trying hard. His ability to get on a short side play and play that 3-on-2. It's so good, second to none. The way in which he can put a centre through a hole or cut it out or know when to pass it back into the inside. Joash Papali'i has been really good over the last few weeks as well. I thought he had a reasonably quiet night. I just thought they got belted up. The Storm were too good. Jerome Hughes, Cameron Munster, they just controlled things. Harry Grant, the way he has the ability to pick up the ball with one hand when gassed, when exhausted, just to get that momentum happening and get the team rolling down the park. The confidence it would take for the Australian hooker to do that is pretty incredible to watch. It's actually a privilege to watch Harry Grant play. His kicking game, his passing selection, knowing when to pass, knowing when to run. He is only, I think, 26 or 27 years old. But for me, when I watch him play, he is as smart as a footballer as Nathan Cleary is in terms of timing, knowing when to perform, knowing when to not overplay, knowing to recognize when to play the game and when to just sit back and sort of do your thing. And what I mean by that is knowing when to attack, but also knowing when to defend. I'm not really explaining that well. So he will know when something needs to be done. He will recognize if Melbourne needs something out of nothing, and he has the ability to do that. But he also knows, and he also has this amazing ability of making sure he's not doing everything and making sure that he has a balance in his game, if that makes sense. He's not overdoing it, which is an art in itself when I watch rugby league. He isn't overdoing it. He picks his moments and he picks it well. It almost looks rehearsed. It's a real privilege and an honour to watch Harry Grant play rugby league. It really is. So congratulations to the Melbourne Storm winning that game 34-8. Cooper Clark, really love him. He's awesome, isn't he? Suafa'alogo, what a player. He is just so skillful, so fast. It's just beautiful to watch. It really is. It's amazing to watch the talent and the speed and the footwork and the agility that some of these players have in the NRL these days. It is an absolute blessing to watch it. And Suafa'alogo is without a doubt one of the best players of the game that I love watching. It's just brilliant to watch. All right, Sunday ticket, the Titans losing to the Knights 36-12. Really disappointed in the Gold Coast Titans here. I actually ended up tipping them here. Just when I saw them with their Gold Coast Chargers jerseys on before the game started, I thought, okay, they might be up here. Newcastle, Bradman Best was ruled out. There was another player ruled out as well. Can't remember who it was, but quite an influential player for Newcastle. For me, I just think the Titans they had all the possession in the first half. Their completion rate was good. They scored a try. I think it was Pascoe in the 3-4 minutes in. The Gold Coast Titans, I don't know. I mean, they have so much talent, so much ability, so much potential. They had opportunities with the amount of possession they had in the first half. They had the opportunities to win this game. And to be fair, in the opening quarter of the match, they were all over Newcastle. They were smashing them in defence. They were making meters quite easily up through the middle of the field. Their sets were great. They were completing their sets. But Newcastle, in that final quarter of the game, Newcastle just turned it and went, nah, not going to happen, guys. We've got this. Ponga, he didn't do anything brilliant in the game, to be fair, nothing overly too flashy, but I think it was a game where you look back and go, that was one of Ponga's best games as a leader in this side. He sort of got the confidence back up. He didn't let his team panic. He helped the team keep believing, which was great to see. So I don't want to go on the Titans too much here because at the end of the day, I've spoken what I thought about them and over the last couple of weeks, and I'm somebody that admires the Titans. I want to see them do well. I really do. But unfortunately, I think it's a long way. The rebuild began 2 weeks ago. Zane Harrison has been good for them ever since he made his debut a couple of weeks ago. That was when the rebuild happened. So for me, the Gold Coast Titans, Yeah, disappointing. Congratulations to Newcastle. Many games like this last year, Newcastle actually lose. They will lose this game. But I think that the difference here is Justin Holbrook. He's installed this belief in their attack and this belief within one another that when the game is going against you, when points are being scored against you, when things aren't going right, you need the mental toughness and the ability to take a breath and remember that you can get back to winning this game eventually. And once they did, they hit it off and they ended up scoring many points in that final quarter of the game. Congratulations to them. Great to see Dane Gagai with Big Tino after the game as well, collecting his jersey. I thought Gagai has been outstanding for Newcastle this year. Doesn't get enough credit in my opinion. And look, for me, I would have I had him in the Origin side? Probably not. He's 35 years of age, but what a career. What a guy. When I think about the Newcastle Knights, I think Andrew Johns, Kalen Ponga, Ben Kennedy, Danny Badiris, but I also think about Dane Gagai because I remember him being there 2014, 2015, 2016 during those real dark times at Newcastle. And he was a real young leader at the club. Really great guy. So happy for him. Happy to see Newcastle do well. And I think for Justin Holbrook too, it would have been really nice for him, especially getting the flick from the Gold Coast unexpectedly a few years ago for Desi Hasler to replace. I think he would have been quite happy internally as well. So congratulations to the Newcastle Knights. The Warriors over the Broncos. I sat here last week and I said, I'm just really confident about Brisbane. I don't know why. I think they're going to win. Oh, wow. Wasn't I wrong? Fucking hell. Congratulations to the Wars. I just genuinely thought that Brisbane weren't going to be that poor again after that Manly game. I thought they're going to take plenty of lessons after that loss at Brookie Oval. The Warriors, mate, they are a dead set chance of making the grand final, hey? Like they are fucking serious. Like they are ready to rock and roll and get to the first Sunday of October on grand final day and versus Penrith. They are outstanding. Andrew Webster, what he's done with the Warriors since he got there in 2023. His first year, he got them to a prelim final against the Broncos, and they lost that. A couple of calls against the Warriors in that game, but I genuinely believe Brisbane still would have won it. 2024, they had a rough year. 2025, they were expected to win the Wooden Spoon. Sean Johnson moving on, Adam Fanua-Blake moving on. They finished, I think it was sixth position, got a home final against Penrith, who finished seventh. They get knocked out week one. But the best player last year, Luke Metcalf, who was leading the Dally M's at the time in round 17 before he tore his ACL, he then got ruled out. So did Mitch Barnett. So they did just lack that quality and experience in that side come the back end of the season. But my God, Andrew Webster has done a terrific job with what he's got at the moment. He's brought the best out of Tanner Boyd, who I will talk about now. That was really sad to see. You knew it was an ACL based on his reaction. His facial reaction went, nah, it's happened. It's happened. And it was really sad to watch because he's had a slow journey, I think it's fair to say. He played at school kids at a high school in Queensland. Is it Currumbin High, or I can't remember what it's called, but David Fifita, Tom Dearden, all these players were in there. And Tanner Boyd was actually back then. I remember 10 years ago seeing an article in the paper saying this kid will be a freak, an absolute freak. And his career just never really took off. You know, Jamal Fogarty got to the he started playing consistent football at the Gold Coast Titans, I'm going to say around 2019, 2020. And he got told back then that from Justin Holbrook that we want you to play first grade, but we want you to help try and sort of focus on developing these players such as Tanner Boyd and they had Toby Sexton back then as well. So Fogarty thought, yeah, I'll take on this role. That's fine. And then one of them got injured and Fogarty just kept playing. And now look at Fogarty at the moment with his career. You know, I think Tanner Boyd really, look, a slow bloomer, a late bloomer, as Fogarty was as well. But really disappointing to see that happen. Like your stomach drops, your heart sinks. You think about all the work that he would have done to get into this form. He's now in there. He's playing his best football. There was also chat about him playing Origin as well. So it was a big game for him. And unfortunately for Tunner, he's torn his ACL. He will be out for the rest of the season. Luke Metcalf will be the halfback now for the rest of the year before he goes off to the Dragons next year. Really, really sad to see from Tunner Boyd, but congratulations to the New Zealand Warriors. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, outstanding. Tane Tuapiki has really lifted his game. Defensively, I've found him a little bit poor at times through his career, his early stages of his career. But for me, he has been, his defence in this game was electric out the back. You can see his communication out the back and the way he communicates with his players when he's around them. He's yelling at them. As a young kid, I think he's around 24, 25 years of age, but he is barking instructions at them. I think one thing about Tuapiki's game, not just his speed, his agility, his footwork, but defensively he's improved. But my favourite thing about watching him is his communication out the back. A very underrated thing when watching rugby league is watching how a fullback communicates with his side. That's exactly what Tane Tuapiki does really, really well. Congratulations to the Wars. The Broncos, really, really disappointing. I would have expected them to at least have a close game to the Wars. I actually thought they were going to win this game. They still had Reece Walsh, Josiah Karapani, Gemmet Shibasaki, Ezra Mam, Adam Reynolds, Ben Hunt, Patrick Carrigan, Jordan Rick. I don't know. I don't know what's happened with Brisbane, but their last 2 weeks have probably been, in my opinion, their worst 2 weeks under Michael Maguire. I know they had a bit of a shit run halfway through last year, and then they went out to Manly one night, got on the piss and had a good time with Benny Teo organised that for them, and then they ended up winning the competition. Look, I can see the Broncos making the top four. I can see them making the finals. But I've got to say, they've got to fucking turn it around quickly. They're in a very similar position to where they were last year. Not as bad. I think they lost a lot more games this time last year, but they're 5 from 5 now, and they are the premiers. I probably expected them to be a little bit more dominant and consistent to start the year. And I think that would be fair to say as well. I think if you're a Broncos fan listening to this, I reckon you'd probably at least partly agree with me that you probably expected them to maybe be 7 from 3 or 8 from 2, maybe not 5 from 5 as the premiers. With the amount of talent, experience, an amazing balance they've got in their roster as well, you probably just expected them to start the opening 40% of the season a bit better than what we've seen so far. Look, I know they're missing Payne Haas, Tony Staggs, but at the end of the day, the Broncos are the biggest club in the NRL. They're the biggest club in the rugby league, and I think we expected them to be better in this game. So disappointing to see from Brisbane there, but I reckon they'll turn it around pretty quickly. I think they will, to be completely honest with you. The final game of the round was between the Panthers and the Dragons. Look, sounds crazy, right? Absolutely crazy. But for me, this was the Dragons' best performance in terms of effort that I've seen since Vegas. They were very unlucky with that Damien Cook kick out of Brian To'o's hands. That was a shocking call. In fact, in my opinion, I think it's the worst call we've seen from the bunker this year so far. And it was disappointing too, because I think it was his 200th game or 250th game in total. It was a milestone game, and he got up and celebrated. It was great to see him celebrate. It was a certain try. The fact they even pulled it back was really, really shocking, actually. I thought it was 100% a try. Were they ever going to win that game? Probably not. But in saying that, I'm in a tipping comp where, if you've heard this podcast before, you know how this rolls, where I tip footy, and you're betting. The betting odds of each game are based on the points you receive. So the Dragons were $11 in this game. And if you tip the Panthers, they're paying $1.08. So you only get that in tipping points, 108. And I'm thinking, well, I may as well just tip an upset here. $11. If it comes off, it comes off. Probably won't. But I mean, I remember the Roosters beating the Penrith Panthers last year. I think it was round 3, and they were paying almost $13 from memory. So you never know. Like, you genuinely, it's at the end of the day. And the Dragons almost scored first through Christian Tuipulotu. At the end of the day, the Dragons they showed effort in this game. There was a sense of effort. I think Panthers were a little bit off their game as well. I don't think they would have been overly too happy with their performance. They started really slowly. Defensively, I thought, good. I mean, they only held the Dragons to 6 points, but they've only lost one game this year. Penrith, they are for me minor premiers, pretty much a certainty. The premiers very very likely. They are just such a. It's so good to watch them, and the Dragons. Yeah, look, I feel sorry for the club. I feel sorry for their fans. I feel sorry for the players. There is now an acceptance of, okay, we'll probably come last now. And you could see that in the players' faces after full time, that it's like, okay, maybe it's just what it's going to be. But what they need to do is, I heard the other day on social media, there's going to be a fan forum. The Dragons fans are going to go to the club and ask questions of how did they get to this point? How did they get in this hole in the first place? How do we get from 2010, 2011, 2012 being such a successful, consistent football side to making the finals back in 2018 was the last time they made the finals. It's been a long time for the club. And to be honest with you, it's probably going to be another few years, a couple of years at least, until they become a real hot contender again. I mean, they've got a lot of good players coming next year. Scotty Drinkwater, Luke Metcalf, Keon Kalamatangi. So I'm really excited for the Dragons next year. But when are they going to get back to 2010 again? I think it's probably closer than what we think. That's just my opinion. All right. They've got Dylan Egan, Hamish Stewart, and then you get Luke Metcalf next year, and you get these players, you get a bit of the recruitment. I think they're just waiting for next year now. Jaden Sewer's going to go to Parramatta. He's a big loss, in my opinion, an origin quality back rower, an international. I'm pretty sure he played for Tonga, Jaden Sewer, I'm pretty sure. Sorry if I got that wrong. It may be Samoa, but I'm pretty sure it's Tonga he played for. Disappointing from the Dragons in terms of the result, but at the end of the day, this scoreline could have been a lot worse. It really could have been. With how Penrith have dominated football sides this year, if you think about the big scheme of things, to only lose to the Panthers by 22 points, all right, I think their effort may have paid off a little bit. Sure, you didn't get the win, but there was real effort shown. The first time in a long time I saw the Dragons players play. Look, they didn't play good enough. Obviously, there were still errors in their game, but they did turn up for this game. They did. There was a sense of that they were playing for that jersey. They were playing for the red V, and they probably didn't expect to win the game, but they probably. I think they did better than what a lot of people thought, and that's what I got out of it. There's talk about, will the Dragons be winless this year? Bullshit. They'll win some games. I reckon they'll win maybe 3 to 5 games this year. Tell you what, you want to be on them you want to tip them, especially on I Tip Footy if you tip them, because they'll be paying some big points for you there. Look, I think at the end of the day, I felt really bad for Gutho, Damien Cook. You just know that they're at the back stages of their career now, and their chances of ever winning a premiership now are very, very unlikely. Damien Cook now off to the Super League next year, so he won't win a premiership in the NRL. Unfortunately, came very close in 2021 for the South Sydney Rabbitohs against the Penrith Panthers, actually. Penrith too good. You know what you're going to get from them. Cleary was great. Talangi, great. Edwards was really good in this game. They just do their thing, right? But they just weren't as relentless in this game as they have been in previous games this year. Perhaps the wet weather played a part in that. I'm not too sure, but a fantastic win at the end of the day. They won 28 points to 6, but if you're a Dragons fan, don't be too disappointed. I know you haven't won a game this year so far, and we're going into round 12, but that was the best amount of effort I'd seen in that game since the Bulldogs back in Vegas, back in round 1. All right, that is the round 11 Magic Round review on the Rugby League Forecast podcast. If you love what you're hearing, please follow me on Spotify or the Apple Podcasts app, or if you love what you're watching, or you can also hear on YouTube Premium as well, please subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. So that is the Rugby League Forecast podcast review show for this week for Magic Round. Congratulations to all the sides that got a win over the weekend, and of course, congratulations to all of you that actually turned up to Magic Round. I haven't done it yet, to be honest. I've had couple of kids over the last few years. So I really haven't. And there was COVID. I think the year I was going to go was 2020 when they pulled the pin. That was the year I was going to go with a couple of mates from memory, and it just sort of never happened. But I'd love to go one time. But whoever went, please leave a comment of your experience over there. I want to hear your experience and any fun pubs to go to, any recommendations, anything fun to do over there. Let me know, because it looks like rugby league heaven over there. Disneyland for adults, I'll call it. Fantastic stuff. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you for watching. Thanks for your support. Go Manly.